It was very clearly said that it's not about the highest vibration, it's about accepting all the vibrations.
Hello, Malina. So the idea for this series of episodes, it's like to talk about the message that you channel. You channel message from the source. These messages are a vibrational experience by themselves, so they don't need interpretation. They don't need rationalization. But the idea is, as our humanity, our ego feels a little bit more calmer when we interpret things, when we explain our experience, integrating things, not as guides or models, but as human beings that are trying to integrate this knowledge. And we will be talking about several messages that we received from Source through you, and we'll be talking about how we deal with this knowledge in our day-to-day lives, besides integrating the vibrational energy.
Yes, thank you, Fabio, for introducing our new format here. I'm very excited to find out how we can make it more tangible, as you said, for everyone who's listening and allow them to integrate it more into their lives hands on, as we are going to have a look, as you said, to the several parts of what has been channeled. So we will hear myself in the channeled me where there is coming through a message from the highest consciousness, which yeah is kind of different with closed eyes, and then the two of us will reflect on that and also discuss how we integrate that into our lives. So yeah, let's start with the introduction that always comes when a message comes through, and then we will have a look at the first part of it.
Nice. So before we play this first opening, I think it's important to say that we are not putting ourselves as model or guides. It's just like humbling, explaining our take on this message and how we do to integrate them.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. We are so thrilled and happy to be with you in this very here now moments unfolding. We love your presence. We love what you bring to planet Earth. We love your curiosity, and oh, how we love your love. We are one. All that we can say is already conscious in you, even though we touch on that to make it even more tangible, more expressible, and more clear to your entire beingness.
So this is the opening of the session in which Malina starts the connection with the source, so with energies of very high vibrational levels. And now the procedure is, in this case, me. I start to ask the source questions about myself, and Malina continues to channel the answers from the sources. So we'll be playing several of these messages, and we'll be trying to tangibilize them.
Yes, wonderful.
I don't know if there is this. I'll cut this part if there is tangibilize, but okay.
It sounded great. I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. So let's
So,
put the first
very
message.
tangible.
I'm not sharing. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
uh, to remind myself of this part. Sharing. Mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm. Sorry, I have to first open. I have to remind myself of this flow. I have to first open, pause the player, put in the beginning, go back to Zoom, and now Where is the? Yeah, let me try. Yeah, because now I cannot see the player anymore. What's happening? Because the player is here, but I cannot find the screen to share with the player.
Okay. Ah.
Mm-mm-mm-mm. Okay,
Maybe
I
it's
will cut
closed
again.
and you need
I'll
to
share
open
my
it
whole
again.
screen. Yeah, it
Mhm.
also. So here goes the first message. Oh, sorry. So here goes the first question that I asked the source.
Is there any specific message about my spiritual path and how I am walking on it?
We love your question. Firstly, we want you to know your path forms under your feet the moment you trust into the next step.
So Malina, what's your take on this first part of the message?
Well, I feel it's very, very simple and at the same time very deep. So, taking a step without knowing what's under the feet when you hit the ground is taking lots of trust requests, you could say. So it really requires lots of trust and lots of knowing that there is something. It's as if we would walk in a cloudy or nebulous surrounding, and we can't see a thing, but we know that there is a way in front of us, and we can set our foot safely to the next step. So I feel for the actual life and integrating that into what we are living through, it means that we are very mm, programmed to always know what result a step brings and what it's good for. So instead of taking a step, we are often used to question what the step will make for us or will benefit us for or what it's going to lead to. So we hesitate to take steps that have no reason or no we can't be sure what it's gonna it is going to lead to. That's at least how most of us are conditioned. Plan before you do and all of that. So I feel that this really reverses the ways we are invited to live. It's for me, it's a very profound thing to really go for what feels right, knowing that what takes place is orchestrated, not needing to know what this orchestration looks like, how it feels like, how it sounds like. So, yeah, that's how I feel, and what it's telling us.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's really a deep message. To me, I mean, it has, as you said, everything to do with trust. And also, in a very practical way, to me, to detach myself from the hows and whens. Because a lot of the time, when we are willing to know the next step and not just the next step, we are actually worried about the hows and the whens. And I mean, it boils down to surrender, how to surrender ourselves to the divine flow of the divine providence and the orchestration. Yeah,
Right. Yes. Yeah, I love that. Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I think, yeah, as you said, it's detaching ourselves of the when and the how. And yeah, it also came to my mind. I was always afraid of heights, but believe it or not, I use it to climb mountains. Yeah, and people always asking me, how is that possible? And I always answer them, yeah, because the fear really helps me when I'm climbing because I put so much attention in the present moment and in the next step, where to put my feet on the next step.
Yeah.
Uh, so I mean, it makes total sense, even
Yes.
in practical life. Uh,
And isn't that kind of opposite to what was said? I mean, you are well aware where you put your foot next when you are climbing, right? And the message says kind of put your foot knowing that the ground forms under your feet without you seeing that before you take the step.
Yeah, I don't see it as contradictory in the sense that it's like you are so connected with the present,
Yeah.
with that moment that is happening and that you are provoking right now.
Yes.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
you get in touch with. I don't know. I think it's our essence. Yeah,
Yes. I love that how I see it with the climbing. And this metaphor is while we take the foot to set it somewhere, we are actually not sure whether it's gonna be solid enough and will grab. But we put our foot there and then we feel how it's carrying us, right?
yeah. Again, I think it also has to do with trust. Like you have to trust that you are supported.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, but this trust doesn't mean that you know where to put your feet in several different steps. Yeah, ahead. You know the next one. I think, at least in my specific life, what comes to me is the next step that I should take when I receive message from higher vibrational energies. It's not like never 10 steps ahead. Yeah,
Yes, yeah,
uh,
that's so true.
yeah.
And actually, the step we take is the action to let go of the ground, right? So we
Yeah,
let go of the security of where we've been before. We trust that one foot will keep us safe and the other
yeah,
can take the next step. And so, yes, yeah, it's one step at a time. And this step is guided because we have a sense where to put the foot, but then it we feel the security only in the moment when we are on that solid ground and it carries us. Yeah.
yeah. Also reminded me, uh, because it's like sometimes you are so connected with the present moment. Like I mean, in the same situation, for example, when I was, let's say, concerned just in where to put the next my feet, or even just one foot in the next step, that also made me feel so much my essence. I think before transcendental experience, it was one situation in which I could really, how can I say, feel the spirit, because wow, you are so present that you feel energies everywhere.
Yes.
When you drink a cup of water, you feel like a plant in which the water is filling yourself and
Yeah.
is energizing your body. When you eat a small thing, you see that energy from that thing coming to your body and energizing your body. And I think all those things has to do with living in the present moment in this specific situation because of the fear of heights. But I hope in the future we don't need fear to that. I mean, I try to not. I try to meditate to substitute that.
Yes. Yeah, so true. I love that. I love that. And as you said, being in a one with all in the full awareness, that's kind of what is the essence of trusting and of taking the steps not from a place of I feel secure enough to take it, but from a place of I'm guided and I'm one with everything, and yes, can feel that. Love it.
Okay, nice.
Trying to create the path before you walk it does not make any sense from our perspective and keeps you in a very limited 3D based reality. We say that with no judgment and full of love, since we know that trusting is one of the biggest joys in your life.
So, what do you think about this part?
Well, I find it interesting and also a little bit provoking that it was said that doing it the other way around, setting a step forward when you know what is coming and the path lying in front of you, ahead of you, um, that this keeps you kind of wrapped up in 3D, meaning in this very dense reality where cause and effect rule, right? So, yeah, it's it's kind of provoking and challenging maybe to to really take that in. So what's your take on that?
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel like uh, we can create from the point of view of our personality, let's say. And if we try to, it's possible, in my opinion, to create through our personality. The problem is we will be using the energy from our personality. So we are so restricted. And as we said, we are limited to this 3D world. On the other hand, if you make ourselves aware of the divine providence, if we become let's say a clear channel, or at least a little bit more clear from the energy that comes from above, let's say, uh, we have access to the same energy that create the worlds, create the earth, create the stars. So we are talking about infinite possibilities. We are talking about an unlimited power to create that is way more powerful, let's say, than our personality. And if we don't do that, if we try, as you said, to think several steps ahead, actually, we are using our power of personality to create. So, in at least in some proportion, we keep entangled in this 3D way of doing things.
Right. I also noticed in a very practical way in my own life that when I know a result and take the steps in order to achieve that result, then I kind of play out certain steps that I then am committed to, or let's say tied to. So I imprison my further steps and my being to these steps and kind of am not in the free joy of really going with what feels right because I have this aim and this goal and I committed to taking these steps. So I'm not free in really, as you said, interacting with the oneness, with the cosmic flows. And yeah, that obviously is more tying us to the 3D. Yeah.
Yeah. But now a question came to my mind. But how do you deal with the anxiety? Maybe anxiety is a little bit exaggerated, but with this kind of feeling uh, of letting things go, of letting things happening. Uh, I mean, because don't you think that there is a kind of balance between non-action and these things?
Well, for me, both in both situations, you take a step. So either you take the step without knowing what is coming, or you take the step with an attachment to what is coming. So in both ways you act, and in both ways you take steps. Meaning the difference is not in taking action or not taking action. The difference is in what the actions do for you. Do they keep you in your same old energy and frequency, or do they take you beyond that? Does it come from a place of, oh, I'm gonna rather stay in my prison cell of thoughts and my idea of what life looks like and what is possible? Or do I come from a place of, I trust into the unknown, and so I'm already in a vibration of trusting, and from there things can arise that I could not make up with my mind.
Humanity, yeah, your
Yes.
personality, yeah. But for example, uh, yeah, I'm asking that because I totally agree, but sometimes I feel myself in a loop of thought, like, why didn't I try this or that? Don't you feel sometimes this kind of, I should have done this and that, I should have reacted because our ego, our humanity is from a reactive uh, nature, let's say.
Yes.
And how do you deal with that? With this kind of, let's say, human worry about keeping stepping all the time in the unknown?
To be very honest, I feel the sensation that this comes, the offer that I could question my choice or what happened or how I reacted. But since you now ask me, what I actually feel is to to always immediately know that everything is happening for me, that this is part of my choice that allows me to have all the experiences that I had up until now, and that even if I cannot see it now, it's gonna lead to something that I will understand later on, or that will carry me way beyond what I could have had with without this incident. So, for example, hands on, um, when my father died, the property situation and all of that was very unstable. So I, with my human mind, I would have tried to keep it safe and to not lose anything and all of that. So I would have efforted a lot, and I would have let go of my vibration in order to make things happen and try to hold on to values and and what I found always, I was always called back when I was going into that direction. I was always called to trust and stay in your vibration. Trust and know that this is part of what you want to experience. So if you would experience what you think you want to experience, then you would be stuck in an experiential loop of recreating what you know. It's not an art of piece, a piece of art. It's it's more of a recreation of what is cause and effect based, right? Or it might tie you to something. In my case, it was really, I was wondering whether I should go there, in order to be there for my mom and to be in the countryside and to be more supportive there, also not to have to pay rent twice, because I mean there's the property that needs financial care, right? And then there's the own apartment. And mm, what I noticed was that I was very gently but very clearly guided not to invest myself there in a way of entangling and trying to to make things happen the way that I could imagine them to be so that everything would kind of work out, right? So it was way more I wouldn't, yeah, well, it was unsettling maybe
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
in the ways that I was feeling about it because it was not okay. It's all taken care of, and from a logical place. But it I felt that it guided me to where I was supposed to be, and coming back from there to my home, I noticed the difference in support from what is surrounding me, right? So I don't say this place is better or that. I just say this all guided me to where I am more supported, meaning where I'm supposed to be. So, long story short, I really feel that I can go into the questioning, and of course, it's always luring me there, and wants to drag me to questioning or doubting what I have done or how I went about certain things. Yet, since it's like a mantra that automatically is going on inside of me, always telling me it is all happening for you, everything is happening for you. It's like when things like that come, it's immediately erased because I
Nice.
know and have experienced that everything is happening for me, not in a way that it's all like in a fairy tale where it's clear that everyone wants to have the biggest, nicest, and most comfortable, whatever place with, all that is always generalized for everyone to have. It's really letting go of this and trusting into I am here to make certain experiences so that I go deeper into my essence and that I can keep my vibration of pure love frequency through every situation. That's why situations come into my life that might be more complex or not as fairy tale like, but that's also um, possible or, yeah, opportunities for me to really feel that it is possible to be in peace while the world is turning upside down and things are happening. So yeah, that's how I perceive it, hands on.
Yeah, really interesting. It reminded me once I was meditating, uh, because in some sense, not in some sense, in total sense, I believe that we build our reality.
Right.
Uh, and I was thinking, okay, if I build our reality, is the all the reality taught by me? Uh, this was the question that I asked when meditating, and the answer that came, it was no. I mean, if by me I mean my personality or my human incarnation, it's not like that because you have. I'm calling untaught happenings that they are provoked as steps to bring you where you should go. For
Mm,
example, provoked by your higher self or even higher vibrational layers above the higher self.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these untaught happenings or these untaught things are just stepstones on the path. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Yes, I love that.
Mm.
So we remind you of these joys. We remind you to play your path moment by moment to then see how your path evolved in perspective, not in advance. It's never ever about the spiritual path. It is about the spiritual moment. It's about the unfolding of your here now.
Okay, this one is really interesting in my opinion. Yeah,
Wonderful. Yes. Do you want to start?
yeah, I can start. Yeah, because I think I mean, I think there are so many meanings in this message. Uh, Although they are really short, they are really deep. Uh, so to me, the first thing that comes to my mind, it's like, okay, do I really believe that I am a soul having a human experience or not? Because if I really believe that is that way, I have to understand that the spirit is experienced through me.
Yes. Yes.
So the next step is not from my humanity, it's not from my ego. It's actually from the spirit, from my higher self, from above my higher self. This
So
this
true.
this was what first came to my mind.
Mm. Wonderful. I love that. Yes. For me, the joy jumped out. So, y-
Yeah.
yes,
That
back.
joy to me is very complex. I must confess. This is one lesson that I have to really, how can I say, prime myself to exercise all the time. Because if I am not, let's say, I mean, joy, in my opinion, not my opinion, I mean, in my ego's opinion, is something that I have to really exercise feeling, you know. If I let myself, let's say, in the absence of a better word, out of guard, I come back to a how can I say, maybe a do it mindset instead of a joyful mindset.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I
Yes.
totally recognize that when I'm in this joyful mindset, the levels of energy, the levels of everything, the levels of serendipities and synchronicities. I mean, I totally understand from the point of view of, let's say, the belief, the external belief, but it's really complex to me to integrate this one.
Okay, yes. Yeah, fully understood.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely one of the most challenging things in life in general, I'd say. That's why there are so many books about happiness, of about finding peace and joy. I would say peace is quite equivalent to joy, a joyous life. When you really enjoy every moment, there's absolute peace in every moment. There is, in the absence of joy and happiness, I would say there is no real peace. There might be a,
I
a
totally agree.
state of silence, maybe, or of mm, balance in a way that nothing is happening, but it's more of a standstill or something like that. Not a dynamic, stasis like state of stillness, silence, stillness. Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, and how do really integrate that? I think it comes back to our last comment. It's like you have to really remind yourself that life is happening for you and not against you, and coming back to your essence, to your vibration.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. However, sometimes that's not enough. When we are in a place where we do not feel any joy at all, we can tell ourselves everything is happening for us, and it just makes it worse because it doesn't feel like it, right? So, um, I noticed that it is so easy to be in the joy when there is joy. So when we feel like overflowing with the light and the love and the connectedness and the oneness with all, then joy is like, of course, everyone is in joy, right? But when we are not in that vibration, we feel as if there is no joy at all. So what I noticed, especially lately, when I got the chance to really compare both states, there is a reason why people are asked on spiritual paths or in programs to have certain things they do on a regular basis, like meditating in the morning, enjoying time in nature, having time by themselves in silent stillness, having reading spiritual books or sophisticated literature that is nourishing the mind on higher levels, and singing, playing music, or listening to sacred music. So there's lots of things, taking good care of their bodies, moving their body and working out, stuff like that. So there's really lots of things that people are invited to do, no matter in into which source you look or what teacher you listen to. Most of the time, everyone promotes in one way or the other a lifestyle to entertain. And from what I've experienced, it really is connected to the joy vibration. When your system is in a certain surrounding, it's way easier to feel the joy when it is acting in a certain way or working out or doing something that is mm, allowing the energy to flow. Then the joy enters the heart immediately. So not doing any of this and just sitting there and wanting to be joyful does not really work, because the vibration does not contain any joy if you're not in the joy. So having a change of state, and thus a change of your channel, your system, that is like a complex channel, I'd say, or channel system where all the energies flow through the nadis and the chakras and all. It's allowing these energies to flow, and your system to open up to these energies and vibrations again. That's where the joy gets released again. So from my experience, a life of joy contains, or is allowed by the deep knowingness of what sparks joy for you. And that's individual, but also collective. Most of the people, there are very few people, if not none, that do not experience a higher level of joy when they are in nature, in the sunlight, in the open. And also moving the body in one way or the other, not excessively. For some, it might be excessively in moments, but not per se, right? So it's always, for me, it's always knowing the tendencies that are there for everyone, like meditating and going out into nature, having a good walk, or a good conversation on a high spiritual level. The tendencies, and then to know what it is for you personally. And as simple as it sounds, then taking the action, right? Then really going for the walk, or um, making it a priority to go to the lake and have your swim, or whatever it is. So your morning meditation, the evening meditation, it's all part of allowing the vibration of joy to be there. And as I said, what I have experienced is that you cannot imagine joy to be there if it's not there. That's why the tools to allow the energy to flow again, and your heart to be nourished again, and the joy to thus unfold again, are so crucial.
Yeah. I think there are several, as you said, techniques. To me personally, maybe I'm too mental because I think meditation is something that makes a lot of difference in that situation. I would say even more than walking nature. Uh, Also, something that I mean that to me is very connected with meditation, but also concentrating on the breath makes a lot of. It's a kind of meditation anyway, but makes a lot of difference. Yeah. Also, uh, almost maybe again in the absence of a better word, because language fails us in when we are describing those things. Uh, Also, trying to consciously connecting with the energy of gratitude.
Oh, yes. That
Yeah,
is a
yeah,
really profound one.
yeah. It brings, I mean, most of the time, joy back to me. Uh, yeah. I mean, and when I'm really out of joy, I can find gratitude in past things. When I'm a little bit less far from joy, I can find gratitude in things that are happening or that I'm living right now. Yeah, and well, gratitude, in my opinion, makes a lot of difference to me.
I love that you said that because actually that's exactly what is the pull out of very
Yeah,
dense vibrations. So I would say that's really the key. I mean, one thing that, but it's always in combination of gratitude because that brings you to heartfeltness in all that
yeah,
you do. So for me, singing, soulful singing is definitely one thing that provokes the joy in my heart. But as you said, without gratitude for the moment, for the life, for whatever it is, but the vibration of gratitude, without that, it is very tough to have the sensation. It's not a sensation, but that vibration of joy in your heart.
yeah.
If there really is no path that suits others. There is only your now by now path that does not follow any rules but one. The one and only rule, even though that's no rule that it follows, is the vibrational choo- choosing moment by moment. So you choosing your vibration, no matter whether you are on your own, no matter whether you are in a high vibrational sitting with others, no matter whether you feel observed or not observed, you choosing your vibration is what unfolds your entire presence on earth.
So,
Well, actually, that hits home for me at the moment quite much since I really feel the choosing part of having my vibration and having this or that vibration. And for me, it's in the beginning, or let's say to start with, to acknowledge that that it is a choice. So not to try to force it to be as high as possible, but really to observe what am I choosing? What's my choosing traits? Or um, what is it that I turn to when I'm bored or when I feel like, okay, now I had a high vibrational experience. What now? Right? So the choosing part is really huge for me, and the more I observe that, the more I find that I have the choice, and the more I allow my choices with no judgment at all, the more I tend to make better choices of vibration and to experiment with the things that I really love, and at times to say, oh, you know what? Today, I can do something else, but not from a place of, oh, like after a concert and then you had such a high vibration that you just want to down it and you I don't know. Often people drug themselves or take alcohol or something like that. Others just take too much food or, so it's really, for me, I notice how balance takes place, or it's kind of a balancing effect when we acknowledge the choices we make instead of judging them, because the judgment leads to really wanting something and then being in resistance to what is possible, because before I do what is possible, I enjoy what I enjoy right now, right? So, and you stay in this, I wouldn't say enjoying, but more of yeah, numbing yourself loop. And one day you know how it works, how it goes. You can choose a high vibration. Now I'm gonna choose the low vibration so that then my desires are fulfilled and then I can go to the high vibrational state. That does never really play into our cards because when we entertain the desires, they just expand and get more. So yeah, what I am experiencing with this is the less I judge my choices, the more competent and confident I become in choosing wisely and from a place of connectedness, because with no judgment comes connectedness. When I do not judge myself for what I am doing or choosing, then I am, yeah, it's easier to be one with myself and to feel myself because I'm not rejecting myself and my choices. And then I feel what really feels good. And the choices I make become more sophisticated in terms of vibration. That's how I perceive it and what came up for me in this part.
Interesting. Yeah, yeah. This one is a little bit tougher to me. Yeah, because yeah, I think choice is uh, an essential thing. I think desires, if you are, I mean, we have different kinds of desires because I think we also have desires coming from very high vibrational layers. Uh, I mean, that are the things that we planned to experience on Earth. At least this is how I see. Yeah, but sometimes I think even if we have this belief, uh, I mean, we can find so many sophisticated ways of distracting ourselves. Yeah,
True.
even ways in the spiritual path, and sometimes we make choices, and I mean, and again, this is all part of the path that is built every step. Uh, I'm not saying, I'm not complaining about the mechanism itself, uh, but sometimes I feel also that we think that we are choosing the best vibration for us, and probably we are because of the divine orchestration. But uh, actually, the vibrational outcome is not sometimes what we expected beforehand. I don't
Mm.
know if I'm making myself clear, because even in the spiritual path, let's say, again, this is in absence of a better word, because everything is a spiritual path. But even in the spiritual field, let's say, we have so many distractions, so many choices that we think will elevate our vibration, and actually they don't, or they are almost neutral, or things like that. I don't know if I'm making myself clear. Yeah.
I mean, you could
Uh,
name an example if you have one.
yeah,
Um,
I would say courses,
yeah.
techniques, uh, even ritual, substance, all things. A lot of the time, they have a role, let's say. I mean, I think everything has a role, but in the sense of elevating our vibration and making our our lives more aligned, let's say, with these high vibrational levels. On the other hand, we have so many distractions. Uh, and I think this is part of the things that we have to experience here in the 3D. This amount of distractions and the because things are really sophisticated, even if the choices are very simple. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, because
Yes.
it's also relatively easy to my ego to get caught in thinking that I'm choosing the best vibration to me at that moment, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Fully understood. Um, I love your examples, and from what I feel and also heard, the vibrational choice is not the choice of the actions. It's the choice of which vibration we bring to the actions and what place we come from, no matter what actions we entertain. So there is a slight difference there, and I feel that oftentimes we are not aware of that difference. We think a certain action induces or you know a certain frequency into us. And we might feel that when we go to a group meditation or a course, or that would elevate our vibration. From my perspective, the only thing that can happen due to the course or the meditation or whatever we take place, we choose to enter to take part in, the only thing that can be done by these things is that we are more likely to open ourselves up to these higher vibrations. So it's not that we receive the higher vibrations. Of course, if there is a light full of a room full of light, and we open ourselves up to these vibrations, we might receive higher vibrations than when we are in a room of darkness, right? But from the profound thing in the vibrational choice and bringing it to the daily life, for me, really is to know that the action is can be in a it can take place in a high vibration, but it also can take place in a low vibration. So meditating mornings and noons and nights and all day long for someone can be very uplifting and elevating. For someone else who is just sitting there and doesn't feel anything, they might call it meditation as well, but maybe it's just a waste of time, right? So depending, and also when we go to into a course and are with other people, for me it's especially when there are others involved. It's so important that I know I don't go there in a lack of. I don't go there because I am lacking something and I want to receive that. I go there as a full beingness that brings all the light and all the love vibration to the table, that adds to the container, or um the group, the the high vibrations. So I know who I am, and the truth of me brought to something brings me in a very high vibration and allows me to show up in a high vibration. It also encourages me to be in my highest vibration, because I know that it feels way better, no matter what people might think of me, when I am in my solid high vibration than when I am trying to get something because I feel not whole or not good enough, or want something. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a very interesting point. Yeah, for sure. I was wondering when you were talking, because I think we are so multi-dimensional and we have so many layers uh, that in the end it's like everything are permission slips. What I mean by that, it's like if you are able to be really a clear or a transparent channel for the high vibrational layers, we know. Sorry, I don't know what happened. Let me see. What's happening? My computer is not charging.
Ah, okay.
I'm using the wrong cable. This is why it's not charging. Let me see what's that. What's that one?
Yeah, actually, I have so many cables on in my table. I have to hide it up because I was using something totally disconnect to charge my computer.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, and now why this annoying? Now I'm back. Okay,
Okay, great.
let me turn the light on again.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, good.
Wow, I was using the wrong mic, the wrong everything, and I was not
Oh,
charging, and I was not charging my computer because it was a loose cable that I was using, not connected.
interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, I will cut this part. Let me recover my train of thought. Okay, one, two, three. Okay, yeah, this is a very interesting point. I think it boils down to everything our permission slips. Because, for example, yeah, this is really. I mean, we are talking about a very about. It's paradoxal because things are really simple when we are talking about vibration, but on the other hand, it can become really sophisticated when we start to use these permission slips. Yeah. So for example, I think this is a permission slip, but for example, when I'm doing a healing session and I feel a totally different sensation when the person that I'm facilitating the session, let's say, uh, when the person is, I mean, it's a different experience. I cannot even say if it is more efficient or not, but it's a different experience when the person is physically close to me, or when the person is in another country and I'm doing an online healing session. I saw both work, but I mean, the sensations that I have when the person is physically close to me are totally different. So I totally understand that everything is connected. We are all energy and so on. Everything is vibration. Uh, yeah, but it's a kind of permission sleep. I feel totally different sensations.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
yeah.
Same
So
here. Hmm?
yeah. So I think in one dimension it doesn't matter because we are on. We are whole. Everything is vibration. Uh, yeah, but in another dimension, it seems that I will say need, but I don't think it's really need. But it's kind of usual, let's say. to make use of these permission slips.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
it's tricky in my mind. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, for example, I mean, we shouldn't, let's say, project our power. Uh, I mean, outside. I mean, better say, we shouldn't give our power away for like projecting to other things. Uh, in essence, we are the same energy that created the universe, for sure. Uh, yeah, but on the other hand, it's like I have so many experience when I felt the energy of a place, for example, or of an object. Yeah. So in my mind, it's a little bit tricky, still tricky, this kind of thing. Uh,
So, are you referring to your vibration in opposite to the other's vibration and in your surrounding? So being responsible for your vibration without feeling the other vibrations too much, or yeah, I'm not quite sure.
yeah, I'm reflecting about the example that you gave about going to a course, for example,
Yes.
and bringing as much as possible the energy of pure or undiluted love or that kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah, and I mean, I was trying to extrapolate a little bit and say, one in one hand, I totally agree and I totally believe in what you said. In other hand, I see, like I said, uh, I have a room that usually is in this room that I meditate, that I kind of channel, that I kind of, I mean, concentrate high energies and things like that. And it's like in this room, so many people that are sensitive when they enter, they say, "Wow, what did you do with this room?" You know, uh, yeah, yeah. So it's a kind of trick in my mind because on the other hand, it's like, okay, but this is vibration, and now the vibration is on this entity that is energy like us, that is intelligence like us, that is this, let's say, it's not really the things that are here, it's the ambience.
Yeah.
I think it's the best way to say. And actually, I travel to several places that, wow, the energy of these places are unquestionable. Even if you are not sensitive, you can feel it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So what I'm trying to say is, it seems that in this reality, in some measure, we need this kind of permission slip. Because actually, in an extreme analysis, let's say, look, we are source. So there is no separation between these energies and us. Yeah. And but we have to it seems to me that we have to some not we have it's part of the earth's experience somehow to play with these permission slips.
Yes. Yeah, I fully agree. And what I see is the more we are aware of our vibration, the more we are also aware of the vibrations around us because we our vibration does not stop here, right?
Yeah,
It's
sure.
it's hitting home or it doesn't. So when it hits home somewhere, then and we are in a vibration of love and light, then that's what we feel in the objects, and that's why we feel maybe disturbed by certain disruptions or not or dense materials that are not as open or allowing to these vibrations and might not want to keep them in the room or might want to give them extra you know
Yeah.
attention so that they would feel more invited to allow this vibration in them. And when others come and allow the vibration as well, otherwise they would say, oh, well, that's a room, right?
Yeah.
Uh, an empty room or a room with some objects. But those who feel that are also in a vibration of allowing and in an acceptance of these high vibrations, let's say of love and light. And that's why they feel, whoa, there's so much of it there, not because it is put there, but because it is resonating throughout the entire field. It can expand there. It is filled with this vibration. And this vibration is in these people as well. If they do not accept this vibration, they might not feel a thing there. They might, but they wouldn't, because everyone is
Yeah.
receptive to a certain extent to these
Exactly.
vibrations. But yeah, that's how I perceive it.
Yeah, I perceive like that too. But what I'm wondering is, in another dimension, it shouldn't make any difference because we are all connected with the highest level of vibrational energy, you know. Yeah, so yeah, so it's like it's really something that we build this illusion to play with. You know what I mean? Yeah,
Exactly. It's
yeah,
like, oh, I want to feel myself in different forms. That's why
yeah,
I create different forms. But in
yeah,
order to make it real, I make myself forget myself in these forms so that they can
exactly.
experience themselves anew and choose with free will what they want to really experience and which vibrations they want to entertain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Highly inspire you to enjoy every vibrational choice. We do not say choose the highest one. We say choose the one that is aligned with you, knowing that you are always the highest one. As you can see, there is a difference there. Trying to choose the highest one allows you to be stuck in dissatisfaction with yourself. Knowing to be the highest one, always choosing whichever appeals to you, that sets you free. That allows you to be non-judgmental about anyone and anything, as you already practice it. So celebrate your choices, knowing that you are not your choices. You always are every vibration. The highest one is the one that includes them all. Is the pure white light, includes all the colors.
I think this one is really interesting. It has to do with a lot of things that we have been talking. Uh, yeah, but and the main thing that comes to my mind is acceptance. Yeah,
True.
yeah,
Yes. Yeah, it was very clearly said that it's not about the highest vibration, it's about accepting all the vibrations and thus kind of as with the white light, right? Accepting all the vibrations leads you to the highest vibration because that's what is in every vibration, kind of. Yeah. So yeah, I really, for me, the non-judgmental acceptance, as you said, of all there is so it seems to slip away throughout the day, right? When we go about the things and we see people do this and that and ourselves do this and that, and we might know that we could do better. And of course, we are in a society where it's always about better and outgrowing yourself or really performing better, all the better and further and bigger. It's not the easiest exercise to not measure, but to allow what is and to be okay with every choice, with every vibration, with the choices others make, with the choices we make, and what then arises is letting go of all the identificational parts so that we identify ourselves to be this and that person. But that kind of makes us judge what we do because it either is connected to or in alignment with that character that we want to play or are used to play or want others to see us for, or we are not in alignment with that. And when we are not, automatically we start to judge ourselves, right? So going beyond that also contains to let go of all the identification and the ideas of who we want to be or look like. And that sets us free. But in the beginning, it can be very scary as well, because yeah, different people might experience us in very different ways and might take us for something we might feel we are not. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is wow. This one is also really tricky or sophisticated to me. Yeah. I mean, when meditating, not always, but sometimes I'm able to visit different realms, let's say. Uh, and a lot of things really impacted me when visiting these higher, let's say, vibrational realms or dimensions. Uh, so, for example, it really impressed me the top layer that I was able to access, let's say. I think that it's closer to the source, but probably source is still far away. But I mean, the highest dimension that I reached, let's say, you cannot perceive any differentiation. So you are really whole, one with the one.
Yeah.
But when you started to access uh, still high vibrational layers, but lower than that, what at least it was my experience. Maybe different people had different experience. I don't know. But when I started to access lower realms below the non-differentiated realms, let's say, I noticed that there are several different levels of collective. This really impressed me because in my mind there was only one kind of real collectives. Yeah. So I experienced one collective in which people think in a very coherent way. So you note that you are part of something because in the undifferentiated state you cannot perceive yourself as something separate. In this collective, you note that you are part of something, but the coherence of thoughts are so strong that it becomes fuzzy, let's say. But when you go down a little bit more, you start to experience levels of collective conscience in which you perceive this differentiation a little bit stronger. So you can see that this layer things are based on consensus, but the coherence of thought is not like almost perfect as the top layers. So, for example, I totally experienced myself as a particle of this collective in which I wasn't with, let's say, the same opinion. I mean, the words are really tricky in this level. I wasn't with the same opinion as the consensus, but I still, it was so natural to me to accept it. But look, I already noticed that uh, it wouldn't be the choice of this particle, you know, although I understand my role in the collective. So this impressed me. On the other extreme, I also asked and visited the realm that happens when we die. And it's so funny. I mean, it's a really nice process. I don't like to tell that too frequently because it can give a wrong perception that life is not valuable or things like that, and it's not the case. Uh, uh, but in this realm, after let's say we die between quotes, uh, we don't identify ourselves with our higher selves immediately. We still carry a lot of energetic imprints that started to fade out, started to dissolve. So sometimes when we reach, let's say, the other side, we are so enthusiastic, like, wow, I was so close to experience this thing that I would like to experience. I was so close to fulfill this specific task that I would like to fulfill. That sometimes we reincarnate very fast. We choose even harder or stronger message to nudge us to experience that lesson or to do that task or something in that direction. Uh, yeah, what I'm trying to say is it's really tricky because I mean on Earth the experience that I have accessing these other realms is that on Earth the palette of emotions and the intensity of emotions are unique. Okay, I never visited a realm in which we had so strong and so varied palette of emotions. And this is why, in my opinion, Earth is not a it's like a privilege. It's not a place of we have to learn because to evolve. It's like we come here and we are so evolved that we are in condition to experience this kind of range of emotions and things like that. Yeah. But what impressed me is that, look, even this example that I gave about the collective, it's a kind of emotion because I noticed that my choice wouldn't be if I wasn't part of the collective, the choice that the collective had.
Yes.
So what I'm trying to say is judgment is something that is harder even in very high dimensions.
Mm.
Because
Mm.
I mean, this judgment that you talked about on Earth, for sure, it's something much more, let's say, intense. But look, the discordance or the non-total coherence, it's a kind of judgment.
Yes. Well, I feel for me it's in these higher realities or in the highest consciousness, it really it's like bubbles in the ocean, right? It's like, wow, they are playing. And yes, they are fighting, but it doesn't look and the chaos is embedded into the harmony. So it's kind of glitter, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's how I
I,
perceive it. But yeah.
I think so. Yeah, yeah, but again, it's tricky because first time I reached an undifferentiated realm, let's say, or dimension, I don't know, or plane, as you would like to say. Wow, it was frightening to me because I said, "Where is Fabio? There is no Fabio, you know."
Yeah. Yes.
So I noticed. I mean, I really experienced how attached we are to our personalities.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Let's say, what's the role, if there is any, for healers and for, let's say, way showers that try to empower people, connecting them with their higher vibrations or higher selves?
The role is to play what you love to play. When you love to be a healer, your role is to play the healer. What you are asking for as we hear it is, what is your task in that? What is the significance of playing the role? What is it that you are supposed to be doing with that role and in that role? Is that adequate to say?
Yes.
Wonderful. So, we want to answer exactly that. The task, the request of the healer, the way shower, that took on the role because it's so fun and they love to play this role because they feel comfortable in this role, they feel challenged in this role, they love to play that role in that play on stage. The task is to let go of this role, to let go of the significance of this role. And that's the highest task. It's not the task of this role, but it's the task that comes along with that role.
So this one is a sophisticated one.
Oh, yes, it is.
Yeah, I'm really curious about your take. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's funny because the very thing we ended with is kind of picked up on in that
Yeah.
one, in this one. As you said, it can be so scary when your entire identification, or let's say 3D being, is not visible anymore, not tangible, feelable anymore. And of course, that happens when we enter into in the higher planes of consciousness. And yes, I mean, I love how it was said that our task is not to play the role as good as possible, but really to let go of the role. And it also kind of asks for many, it might ask the question or bring up the question, doesn't that put you in a state of passivity? And well, it was not said that we are supposed to stop playing our role, right? It was saying that we are supposed to let go of the identification with the role. So I would say it's more fun to watch a movie when you are not too identified with that person, when you know it's happening on the screen, and you can always choose to have your own story in your head or know how you would do that. So that's kind of the fun of watching a movie, right? You know how they do that, but you also know how you would choose. So it's easier to watch when you are the one who is kept in that or tied to that story, and you are not feeling that you are choosing it, but you have to act as the role is playing out or supposed to play, then it might feel different and more attached and also more captivated in that role and how it usually acts. So it takes a lot, I'd say, to really let go of the identification with that role. And I would say even the more influence we have in the cosmic or global context or local context, the more it might, the more challenging it might be to let go of the identification with that role, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I think it's an interesting take. I was also thinking this message connected with uh, that dynamic aspect of this universe, because usually we associate, not usually, I mean, in the 3D, we try to associate good things or evolution almost with stability. Uh, and actually, there is a dynamic aspect in everything. So I think to get attached is to open hand of this dynamic state. Let's say the nature, in my humble opinion, the nature of the universe is movement. Uh, so I'm interpreting this message as something like, okay, so the ultimate role, let's say, if there is such a thing, it's not to have any role or to play all the roles. Maybe it's another way of putting it, because uh, I mean, the universe is dynamic. We are not here to rest and to to have a passive life in the colloquial sense, but to really embrace the unknown, because probably, I mean, it's my belief that our souls uh, always are planning things bigger than we are able to plan or to play, if we prefer this verb. Uh, so if our humanity is thinking, okay, your final purpose is to be a healer, actually, our soul is thinking something totally different. Yeah.
So true.
Yeah.
I really love what you just said, and it reminds me of several times in my life when I actually let go of a role. It was oftentimes perceived to be very radical and not in a good way, usually. So it's I I take it very lightly to change roles, right? Mm, for example, I mean, it just came to my mind. At a certain place when I was working with essential oils and aromatherapy, for so many people, I was the person connected to the essential oils, right? So they could not imagine me to be without the oils, or at least without that concept of. And one lady, when I said, "Okay, that's not my priority anymore," or I moved to something different, she said to me, "Wait, but to me, you are the queen of oils. Who are you then when you start doing that, right?" And that was kind of it puzzled me because I did not identify myself that much with this outer thing. But of course, you get identified with that, like you in our in our conversation interview that we had together, in our Harmony Help Us conversation. I mean, I name you to be a natural healer. So if you went to do something else now, I would say, okay, my video is outdated, right? What now? But it's really what you said. I really love that our souls do not plan a very limited existence and role for us. They want a very wide range for us. So they nudge us here and there and allow us to let go of roles, or really make us let go of roles because we are not able to perform this anymore or to do that anymore. And oftentimes we need that in order to let go of a role. When we don't need that, then it can be easier and more smoothly because um, we are not forced to let go of a role, but we deliberately say, okay, I've played in that for a long time, and whoever wanted to be touched by that or inspired by that got inspired by that. All the experiences that I was meant to make, I got, so now I can move on, or something else is calling me. I prefer that way, definitely.
Nice.
So many of you, and we know we speak about the many, not about you here. Many of you who chose the role of the healer, the role of the way shower. They identify with that role and they have a beautiful, wonderful, fulfilled life playing that role to perfection. You, however, asked this question to receive our genuine answer. This is not the answer that wants you to play your role the best you can to make you the role player, the unique one that masters this role. You asked this question to go beyond, and that's exactly why this role, these roles were given to you to see that they can be played because it's fun and it is nourishing and it is fulfilling and it gives you a sense of being needed, a sense of being of importance. And we say that, oh, with so much love and appreciation, a sense of contributing. The true, the one and only contribution that you can offer, that you are offering no matter which role you play, is the love, the light, the all there is presence that you provide just by being yourself. And we do not refer to an identified human identity self. We refer to you, the all there is, the essence, the divine, the love that is in and through you, as in and through every expression, every compilation of matter, every tangible, every visible, every invisible, non-tangible, everything. So you playing your roles leads to you letting go of the roles.
Who will be the first in this one?
You can go first. I'm
Well,
excited to hear what you say about that.
yeah, this one is so tricky to me because I totally agree, and I mean that in the, let's say, if we are talking about the end goal, almost the end goal, in the sense of being detached from everything and be able to, let's say, not, maybe not really continuously but mostly vibrate in a very high vibration. I totally agree that things will happen uh, without any role at all. What I question myself when I hear that is how far am I? I am how far I am from this state, you know?
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Because I mean, for most of the people, when we talk about this kind of principle, and again, I totally agree with this principle, but I feel myself so far from this stage, you know, and maybe we are not because we think that we are. Maybe we are 1 second from it or 1 centimeter from it, but I'm also, and this is how my humanity reacts to this kind of comment when I'm talking about it with others. Not when I'm receiving, as I received from you, I mean, from your channeling. Uh, is because a lot of people say, okay, so uh, I don't need to make any action besides reaching a very high vibration, and this is true on the end, you know. Yeah, but what I question is so far humanity and the people around me in general uh, is from this point because it, it's like sometimes I have to how can I say, in a very human way. I'll tell you a real case. I have a colleague in my regular job, let's say,
Mhm.
uh, that she's having a tough time with her shoulder.
Mm.
I don't know how the physicians are calling thing something like a frozen shoulder. She had a bike
Mm.
accident, and now she has to take steroid shots to
Mm.
be able to move the arm again.
Mm.
It's something really, I would say, impressive because yeah, I never
Yeah.
saw something like that. And the message that I received, it's like, wow, it's so easy to heal this kind of thing, energetically speaking, you know. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, when these things comes to my, I mean, when people look for me, uh, there is a kind of, in my opinion, a kind of contract or a kind of message for them or something like to me. I consider myself like a messenger.
Yes.
Uh, in this specific case, I started to wonder, okay, in which extent, in what extent is my ego uh, wanting to demonstrate to her that I'm able to heal her, or there is a contract, between us. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So it's like in the sense of this message, if I was able to always vibrate in a very high vibration, it would be enough
Yeah.
to or modify the reality around me, and she's part of the reality around me, or yeah, that's it. But as the environment around me, when I say the environment, the reflections that I'm providing to the universe that is creating the reality around me are not yet in this level, or at least not entirely in this level of vibration. I wonder, shouldn't I tell her that? Because it's like when she was describing this thing, I said, "Wow, I can totally see what's happening with her. This is so easy to heal energetically speaking. You know what I mean?"
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So sometimes I let's say I find myself in this kind of dilemma.
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I love your example and yeah, these dilemmas. Um to me personally, when you say that, I'm like, well, it's not clear whether your ego keeps you from telling her or nudges you into telling her.
Yeah, yeah, exactly,
So
exactly.
it could be both ways.
Yeah, yeah, I know. This is
And
why it's tricky.
yes,
Yeah,
and so the I don't know, for me oftentimes when I notice that I get hung up on something like that, I tune into the joy of my heart, coming back to the ones we had before, we talked about before. And I oftentimes notice, okay, is it a fear of missing out on an opportunity that would boost my ego? Or
yeah,
is it really a genuine, heartfelt joy of connecting with that person, no matter what comes from it? And I don't know, what is it for you?
yeah. To me, in this specific case, it's really tricky because it's like reality bringing the people that can be healed by me to my regular job. So
Yeah.
it's a kind of layered message, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
look what's happening. You are still in this regular job, so I'm bringing the people that can be healed by you to your regular job.
Yes. I mean, I fully see that like that. And
Yeah,
I would
yeah,
say that not being attached to anything would mean that
yeah,
you are not attached to your reputation. in the job
Yeah, yeah.
because it could cost you your reputation when you would
No,
offer her
I mean, this part I don't feel because all my time, my reputation wasn't like the crazy guy.
Okay, so that's not the
So
big one.
this part maybe it will even improve my reputation.
So cool. I love it. I love it. And then it's really not to be attached
Yeah,
to the outcome, which is also
yeah,
quite natural for you, right?
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't really see that I mean I see both ways and that you can get confused,
yeah.
but from what I see there is a clear invitation there. I
Yeah,
mean,
I think so
yeah.
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look what is happening right now with our dialogue. Although we recognize all these things, for example, me in this specific case, I'm actually looking for a confirmation.
Yes.
Yeah,
So true. So true.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
And it's funny because from what was said, I would have
yeah,
said, okay, the um well, the sophisticated thing to do would be
yeah,
to relax and say, okay, maybe she comes to me or she doesn't. I do not attach to the, I'm not attached to the role, and I can outgrow that role. And for a moment when you were sharing it, I was like, okay, when I love a clear space, a tidy space, then I should start tidying in my space and not, um, criticizing what is around me. And all of a sudden, I will notice that everything around me also finds some natural order. So that was also something that came to me in while you were speaking in comparison or in the context of what was said before. Mm, yeah, because it was said that it's you might find yourself to be a healer now, but that's not your ultimate
yeah,
state of beingness, right? So going beyond your current role, it might mean that you take her for what she is and allow your healing presence to to surround her instead of your judgmental feeling of she could be healed, meaning she's in a limitation
yeah.
and not in the way she should be. Um, I feel that it's really not about figuring out which one it is. It's more about taking the step without knowing, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Right
exactly.
from the beginning, what we had
Yeah.
spoken in the beginning of, to really go for that which is challenging, but at the same time carries the joy inside of you, right? So, mm, I would say we are at square one, where it is about taking this step, not knowing what it's going to lead to, and knowing that there is always this step that we take is always the right one. So we can't get it wrong, we can't mess it up. It's always guided, it's always the right one. So it's not about figuring out which one the step is to take. So first knowing what the step is you should take or what,
Yeah, exactly.
but really going for each one of it of these steps, each
Yeah.
one of them, and um yeah, more from a place of okay, it feels like this right now. I is not overthinking it in a way, but yeah, it's I don't want to go into this situation too much. I already did anyways. Yeah, I just feel that it's a great example, how we can try to analyze things and to find confirmation for what we are supposed to be doing, and in that way having one right and one wrong, whereas what we really are invited to is to have a high vibration and from there follow the joy of our heart, which can be either one.
Yeah. No, yeah, yeah. I mean, I understand that, but it's tricky to do
Yes,
in the day-to-day life, in my
it
opinion.
is. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's why we bring it up here. Right,
yeah.
right. Wow. Yeah, give us some updated
I will.
how
I
you went
will.
about it.
I will.
Yes. Wonderful. The ultimate healer is the one who sees everything whole. So the role of the healer is to go beyond healing into seeing everything as whole. Seeing everything as whole does not give any relevance to the healer anymore. That's how your role of the healer dissolves, by playing it. So we don't encourage you to discard the role of the healer. We encourage you to go further, since we know that you already surrendered all your ideas of health and being whole to the highest, that you do not claim to know what whole and not whole is from a human perspective. I
So,
love that one.
answering our discussion.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
It was answering it, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what
And
did
it,
you
sorry, go ahead.
what did you hear in terms of the answer?
No, I mean, first of all, I found really interesting because uh, when I'm facilitating the healing process, usually I do precisely what was described. It's not, it's like I don't care about what these people are feeling or if people are saying that there is a grave disease or anything like that. I see the person as whole.
Yes,
Yeah. So this is, let's say, one of the main principles of healing. It's not like curing the disease,
yes,
or the problem, or something like that. Uh, so this is I mean, this first part was already very interesting because it has a lot of resonance with the process itself. Yeah. Yeah, but again, I think the again, I mean, it comes back to the fact that we are multi-layered, in my opinion, multi-dimensional and things like that. Yeah, and I think there is, I mean, in the uh, in the end of the day, it's like it's a big play that you are playing. Uh, so there are several roles, as was said. We should place or the rule of the universe is that instead of being static, we should detach and play several different roles. Uh, yeah, but I see. Yeah, so not talking about myself specifically, I totally see the healing role. And again, when I'm saying healing in a very broad sense, it's not like only healing disease and things like that, or what people call disease and things like that. Uh, because, for example, I was really critical a lot of years ago, a long time ago, about, for example, how can I say, extreme Christians, like some sects of Protestantism and things like that. But I mean, even a long time ago, I noticed that even these sects they have a very important role. Yeah. So some people decided to play this kind of thing, and they need this message, or they agreed in playing the character that needs this message to start the awakening process.
yes,
Yeah, the process of remembrance, let's say.
yeah,
Uh, So in that same sense or in that same direction, I totally can see that in part of this play there is a need for what we call healer, on the same sense that there is a need for, I mean, the healer and the healing is not for everybody, for sure. Uh, on the same sense that, let's say, I believe that if we experience again something closer to COVID and you are totally vibrating in a high vibrational level and you are able to keep this your vibration in resonance with this high vibration, you don't need to fear and you don't need to take vaccines. But on the other hand, I totally understand that if you are not able and if you are subject to fear and things like that, so in this situation, it's better to have a shot, you know. Yeah. So yeah, I think again it comes back. Yeah, what I mean, in my experience as a healer, the most impressive things. I mean, as I said, my ego like miracles, so miracles are really fun. Okay, I cannot deny, even knowing all the detachment that you have to have. My personality finds fun to see those things happen. Yeah, I have to admit, okay, but I mean, besides that, what impresses me is how people change their mindset and their worldview when they receive a healer. Sometimes this process is not even conscious. It's like it's not like okay, I was healed, I received a grace or as you wanna call it. So now I'm like that. It's not even so rational or so step by step or so cause and effect. It's like, well, people change. Simply they change. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So I, I mean, in my worldview, let's say, uh, I see the world. I mean, when I say the world, everything that is on the world, us, other people, things tangible and non-tangible, everything I see like a kind of you can say reflection, but reflection sometimes limits this concept. I think it's more than reflection. Again, the words are tricky in when we describe those things. Are more like messages.
Mhm.
It's like a word of symbols nudging us in like if you were in a video game
Mhm.
uh, or in a play if you prefer, if you are more sophisticated. Yeah, so it's like the script, let's say. So I totally can see the healing process and the role of the healer as a messenger in
Yes.
this specific not in this specific, in all situations actually. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think even if you are not let's say energetic or spiritual healer as you wanna call, uh, even if you are an orthodox physician,
Mhm.
uh, I think the role is the same. It's a message. The problem is when we receive it from the orthodox medicine, it's even more difficult for us to associate the message with specific things.
That's
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Fully agreed. And I also heard in this part of in the channel message, it was about the ultimate healer, and it didn't say that we have to have different roles or have to play different roles. It's said kind of we have it's the ultimate goal is to let go of it and to grow into it. It sounded to me as if every role leads to the realization that all is already perfect. So you can play that to the ultimate healer part where you come from healing and realize that everyone ultimately is whole and that even the issue they might have or the illness, that this is part of the message they receive or part of the experience they want to have. So yeah, it grows into the perfection of everything where you don't feel triggered by illnesses or diseases to help them. That's kind of what I heard with the Ultimate Healer, that whereas the lady with the shoulder triggered you to wanting to heal her, right? In the ultimate sense of being the ultimate healer, you might just feel okay, it's her choice, and she would also come to me if that was her choice because I am this presence here, and she would know. And when there's a situation that happens where the two of you get to bump into each other and she says, "Oh, my shoulder hurts," and you say, "Oh, no worries." I don't know. When a situation happens without intent or without wanting it to happen, then it might happen. Um, but you feel the same way about her with her broken shoulder as you feel with her in a more healed state of beingness. And I felt that this also contained this message of the ultimate healer, contained that every role is ultimately one of accepting all there is and seeing everything as whole, be it the ultimate healer or the ultimate messenger or the ultimate guide or whatever it is, way shower. Um, Even the ultimate artist would probably see all as perfection and wouldn't have to add something to it. He could, but just from the joy of playing with all that is, not from I have to bring this to the world because it's not there yet. Yeah, that's kind of what I took from that as well.
Yeah, nice.
The way shower dissolves himself in the multiple ways that are there, since he finds that there is no single one way that suits another. So as a way shower, you touch the inner compass of another. It's not something you force onto anyone. It is you being you. So even the way shower does not exist when he goes to the essence of what this is. There is no way to show. As your way, your path forms under your feet, so the path of every single one forms under their feet, with every step they trust into. You can't teach anyone trusting. You can live trusting and thus inspire others to trust themselves. That was kind of to the point what we spoke about before. Yeah, I really love that because it takes not the healer now, but the way shower, and also reveals that you are not just a healer, but also a way shower, right? And it takes the way shower to being out of job. Because there's no way to show anymore. It's really more of the sensation, or as they said, the trusting to it's more of a vibrational um, inducement or share that the ultimate way shower probably carries.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, in this ultimate analysis, let's say, I totally agree. What I was wondering when I was reviewing this message a long time ago after we did the session uh, was okay, but just hearing this message isn't also a kind of way shower mechanism. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, I totally get that the end goal is that, but besides before we reach the end goal, let's say, or closer to the end goal, uh, maybe maybe the question is the play of words like way shower, and I totally get it again, but it's like isn't everything showing us the way? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. I just had that feeling that it happens simultaneously. Like the way shower knows he's playing. He's,
yeah,
showing the way even though the way cannot be shown. So he pretends he's showing the way, and while he shows the way, the other remembers because the vibration and the play is hitting home, right?
yeah.
And it's that's how I feel about it. How I feel it. It's really the ultimate way shower does not need to do nothing. He
Yeah,
doesn't need to stop showing the
yeah.
way. He just stops pretending that this is actually what makes the change. He stops thinking that he's the most important part of what he does is or what he's about is what he does. He knows that no matter whether he does that or something else or nothing, in this the vibration or the high vibration or the consciousness, or just let's say the knowing of the truth of who the other is the change he makes. Because the moment he trusts someone so much that he allows himself to show the way, he also already sees the other stepping into their own way, right? Taking their own
Yeah,
path.
yeah. No, no. I mean, I totally get what you are saying. What I was wondering, it's like I think there is also an implicit message that it doesn't matter what you do, this path of return will happen to everybody in some point, maybe in different timelines or things like that, or even in different universes. But everybody will evolve, let's say, or you remember, or you touch home, as you said. Anyway, so this is one aspect. Uh, the other aspect that make me how can I say it's not like the only thing that I was how can I say questioning a little bit is because the message says there is no such thing as one path that fits everybody. But look, I don't think the way sure is that a real way sure is showing one like the gurus use it to do, showing one specific path that fits everybody. And even in the case of the gurus, I think they knew that there was a kind of vibrational match and they weren't showing the way to everybody.
Yeah.
Uh, Yeah. So this is the only thing that make me question a little bit, uh, because again, I think way showing it's, for example, what we are doing right now.
Right. Yes,
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah.
However, it will hit home for some, and
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
others it will be like, that's not
Exactly.
my past. So I would say we are showing maybe one way.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
And that would, I mean, so even though it's not one path and we say do this and that, and or they say, the channels say that, um it's still, it comes from a certain place
Yeah.
of allowance, right? It
Yeah.
invites to allow in a certain way. There are other paths that take you more into a direction of discipline, and from there, or of focus, or of,
Yeah.
firstly go into right and wrong, and from there. So there's even in the way showing, there is so different paths you can open up to, and open people up to, or refer to. So yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. But again, these are so multi-layered message that we really
Yeah.
need to reflect a lot
Yes.
to come up with half of the meanings.
Yes. So true. So true. So being in the now always means enjoying to the fullest your presence in this form that you have focused essence into, as essence into. All the other forms are also you, essence in the others. Your primary choice is your primary experience. That does not mean that you are not, through all the other experiences, choosing all the other experiences over yourself, to have them be secondary experiences, experiences that you have, just not as a primary one, not as a one that you have to feel through in all its intensity of feeling that it is you. Thus, you see, you feel, you know, that being the one, the way to show is only and ever only for you. There's no one to heal. There's no one to way show. It's all only for you, since you are the essence that is through everything. Your vibrational change changes everything.
So another layer of sophistication.
Yes. Oh, yes. I love that one. Brings all back to ourselves, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. I think it brings back the principle that we are so powerful that we have actually no idea how we are changing the reality to provoke people that needs to be healed and things like that. Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah, it's like bending in a good sense the reality. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's very, I love the way it's put.
Yeah.
Like, we are in this primary choice, but all the other choices are also ours, just not as intense as this one, right?
Yeah.
So, it's we wouldn't to betray ourselves of the choices and the other choices that are there. We wouldn't want to put the other choices into our body, as we sometimes would say we would do. Like, oh, you are suffering so much. I wish I could take your suffering and suffer it for you, right? And I mean, people have done that and they have been granted with that wish.
Yeah,
So that they were allowed to suffer for others. And oftentimes it changed because they didn't take in account the vibrational change that comes along with it. So it also shows very clearly that we made our choice. So it's possible to choose to really experience that we can choose differently and that we can make a different choice our primary choice. Yet it also allows us to let go a little bit of all the entanglement and allow this choice every moment anew to be our choice and to stand for that choice, not to try to feel with other choices in terms of, okay, you suffer, it's better I suffer as well, so that you don't feel that you suffer more than I, or, you know. Um, I feel it really encourages us to stand with our choice, to acknowledge our choice, and to really choose confidently what we want to choose because we know all the other choices are there as well. They are not going away through our choice. At the same time, they are our choices. So it doesn't make any sense to erase them. It's more fun to see, wow, all the choices are there, and we can go through our experience without questioning the other choices. That's kind of how I see it.
yeah, interesting, interesting. Yeah, I also see that explanation as the orchestration itself, like uh, all the entanglements in a good sense that we provoked to play this thing and to because uh, I think there are several levels of integration of the same principle or the same truth or the same part of the truth or something like that. Uh, and to really, let's say, travel in this path of remembrance and coming back home, or as you wish to name it. Uh, I think, yeah, and this is why Everpath is unique in the sense that uh, the integrations of everything that happens around us, it's really, how can I say, yeah, it's really a co-creation. Uh, yeah. So I think there is a huge ripple effect that we have no idea about how huge it is. Probably even reaching outsiders eventually. Yeah, yeah.
It's
And
so
it's
true.
really, sorry?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and it's really, how can I say, it's really difficult to decode uh, all these layers.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Um, so you are kind of pointing out that aspect that was said, and I love that, where the individual's choice really has an effect on everything, right? The butterfly effect. So the vibrational choice really makes a huge difference and touches all the surrounding realities and choices and people. And it's I see the orchestra, right, where everyone plays their part, and it's more fun when we play really with heart. I wouldn't even say the best one can play, but the best we can play in that moment. Not the best as in the most adequate, but really the most felt, right? And the most conscious even. And when we do that, we can basically see how the rest also changes in the way it fits together, in the way it others are engaged and feel more because one allows to feel more. We can see how the audience gets engaged more. We can see how those who might hear it in the radio get engaged more, right? So it's a ripple effect, as you said, that starts right here with so little effort, right? It's not even effort, but um it, so little of a choice, kind of. But it is a choice. It is a tiny little thing that really has a huge effect. So yeah, that's powerful.
Yeah.
So take yourself as the most important subject, and we say that with the twinkling of an eye, to transform. Transformation is not a thing to effort into. Transformation is allowing this moment to flow through you, to unfold, to be what it really is. A miraculous experience of joy, of love in human form and beyond. So that's the perfect wrap up, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's really reminding us to take the best care of ourselves.
Yeah, and also this allowance. Yeah, this allowance is really, uh, at least to my personality, to my humanity, is something tricky.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I used to say to people something very similar, but it's funny. I think it's a kind of reflection that I provoke around me because usually people say, "Okay, Fabio, I totally understand this thing, but look, when I try to be in a state of allowance, things usually get worse to me because it's like it's difficult to understand that this state of allowance can also bring things that are not in resonance with our ego, but they are important to our path, let's say. But it's difficult to admit that.
That's true. Um, I have just I just picture in that moment as you say that I picture someone holding onto a certain position of a certain thing, let's say a lamp, right? And they want that this lamp is in that position, so they really hang on to holding onto that and irritating it there, and then they allow the lamp to do what it wants. Maybe it's a flexible thing, and it just does what it wants, and all gets confused because the light is different and all is different, and it's not how it's supposed to be because the mind still thinks there is one right and one wrong. So oftentimes when we really allow, it feels like chaos. But when things fall into place, there might be a light that is completely, it was not even thinkable, you know, that this tiny light could fill the entire room. Maybe it points to the mirror all of a sudden, and there is, but it was not in the range of what the mind could think. So the part where the lamp in this case finds its perfect position is chaos. But when it has found its position, it's like the most natural ever, and you don't even have to hold on to that lamp anymore or irritate it. And I perceive that allowing oftentimes is exactly that. That firstly, it starts to feel very scary and very chaotic because we don't force it into our mind's concept. But when it was fully allowed to go into this natural harmony or reverberate into what it was supposed to reverberate into or where it's supposed to be, then we find something that we wouldn't have seen or wouldn't have been able to bring about because it was not part of our concept. And I think that's the magic of allowance.
Yeah, I think so. I think when we really allow our state, I mean, the let's say the ultimate or the ideal level of allowance is when our acceptance is so high that we don't even perceive this chaos as chaos. Yeah. Uh, it's like we are so open, and this I'm not saying that I reach this state frequently, but we are so open that even these chaos are not perceived as chaos.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I consider myself really fortunate because I'm not in this state, but I found several people that are very close to this state. Uh, and I always question them about it. But it's like when you are in this state, the acceptance it's so high that nothing is perceived as chaos.
Yeah.
It's like it's a state of detachment.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, it truly is.
yeah,
And when it comes to personal, not an object or an
yeah.
out of circumstance, but really a personal feeling, then it oftentimes, I mean, we could take someone who is used to being very active all day long, right? One action leads to the other, and when there is no action, it needs to be filled with an action. I mean, it's quite common for especially workaholics. Um, and someone going into the acceptance might perceive the chaos in the emptiness of action, right? And as you said, the more we allow this, the more we go into this embrace of not knowing what is going to happen, and also allowing non-action to be part of the plan or of what unfolds, then the more we, yeah, we allow that, the more we don't feel the pressure and anxiety anymore, like the pressure of we have to do something, what's next, and also the fear of doing something wrong, not doing enough, not receiving or making things happen as in the way they should be. So we go get away from the claim of ownership of what we do and the actions we take and the non-actions, and then even the seemingly boring moments of not doing much can be so very fulfilling.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I think, personally speaking, I had glimpses of these things, but I'm still working in my acceptance. Uh, I totally can see a progress, personally speaking, because you becoming you become more and more detached to everything. But it's funny because I think it's again a multi-layered thing. You start to get rid, for example, of attachment with, let's say, material things, but you still have attachment about surviving and let's say maintaining yourself and things like that. So I mean, this is really fun to play with because I think I mean I'm far from this state of these people that I met that I told, but I think on the other hand, it's really liberating. I think this is the freedom, liberty. I think this is the word because well, when you really get detached to something that you hold so uh, fond of, the feeling of liberation is well, ex, ex, okay, it's impressive.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You can see how this thing was waiting on your shoulders. Yeah,
Yes.
making,
Expansion.
yeah,
Expansion.
yeah,
Expanded stuff. Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to remember the word.
Okay. Yes.
Excellent. Yeah, yeah. But
Acceleration, exaltation.
no, it's a
Whatever it is.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay, but we reached the end of our first batch of messages, but we have so many more messages that I think they will stay to episode 2.
Yes, I think so too. And I feel that we can go into this next phase of just allowing everything with that, yeah, that remembrance of we can be in the expansiveness, the liberation by simply allowing everything that is happening as happening for us, not having to control and bring into a certain form to
Yeah,
receive
and
certain
I
things.
think sorry.
Go ahead.
No, and I think that also I totally agree. I think that I would say most of people, but I think all people actually. If you look in hindsight, uh, you can see that every time you were able to allow and to have acceptance in your life, things started after some time to get better and not worse. So even if we look at our personal experience, I think we can totally find truth on these things. Yeah.
Yes. Oh yeah. Wonderful.
And
Wonderful.
on the other hand, in the situations that we were really attached and we are in a state of non-allowance and non-acceptance, we saw how much we struggle in exchange of usually nothing. Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
yeah,
Also very true. Yeah.
mhm.
Wow. So let's embrace and accept
Yeah.
and see what unfolds.
Okay, Malina. See you on next episode.
See you then, Fabio. Thank you so much. It was so much fun. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.